So on today's podcast, we're talking about the concept of slowing down in order to speed up. We often get tricked into thinking that the faster we run, the further we get, or that we can't possibly slow down if we truly want to make progress. This first episode in this series on recharging will challenge that traditional thinking and encourage us to slow down in order to speed up. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everybody, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome back. So glad you are here. If you are new to the podcast, welcome in. We've had over 180 episodes, 180 plus episodes. So glad you're here and diving in. I invite you to go back and listen to all the great interviews and micro pods about different topics that will add value to your life and your work. And if you're one of the OGs that have been with us from the very beginning, welcome back in. So glad you are here. And this continues to be a place that adds value to your thinking, acting, and interacting within your life, within your team, the organization that you serve, and the culture that you are trying to create. So my commitment to you, as always, is that this will be a time for you to step back wherever you are on a walk or a commute or however you're coming to the pod today, and to think, to allow yourself to kind of think about the temperature you're trying to set, and then to have an opportunity to breathe oxygen into the what lies ahead on the path forward. So glad you're a part of this. And before we dive into today, if you'll do me the quick favor and rate the podcast 5 stars, of course, and leave a nice review on whatever platform you're listening to this. Anytime you use your own authentic voice, again, I'm not telling you what to say or how to say it, but hopefully if there's anything that has resonated with you, I hope you'll share it and leave a review so others can find it. This is the way the algorithms work, and so it helps other people find the podcast and dive into these episodes. So anytime you share it on social media or with your team or across your organization and say, hey, this is an episode or a conversation we should be having within our team, that helps amplify these messages and spread them. And I thank everybody that takes the time certainly to do that. Thank you so much. These next few podcast episodes are shorter and very purposeful in the content by design due to the time of year and my own encouragement to myself, but also to you to step back and to recharge and to rest a little bit. And so that you can be, when we talk about stepping back and recharging and resting, I want you to, again, to not bring a mindset that this is just about being a slacker or not doing anything. Hopefully you understand that all of this is couched in this, which we're going to dive into over the next few episodes, is in the study and the research and the belief that stepping back and recharging and resting our mind and our body and our spirit so that we can be at our best when our best is needed. And actually that's a part of elite performance that we'll get into, that again, and whether you're thinking about this as just a person and the relationships around you, how can you be the best as a father or mother or in a relationship you're in, or for your team as a leader or for the organization, whatever it is that you're thinking about this, the impetus of this series on rest comes from my yearly commitment to carve out time each year to make sure, and I do it throughout the year, of course, of taking breaks and being smart about my energy flow, of course. But every year, I also carve out some really intentional time to recharge, to study, to rest my mind and allow for new growth to emerge. And I've watched the way this practice of recharging has helped me not get complacent, but to discover new ideas, rest my body and mind, and reconnect to the most important humans in my life and emerging ideas and purpose and mission and all that stuff. And every year, the practice of stepping back helps me get better at everything else I do and who I hope to be in the world. So in that stepping back to recharge, I'm actually getting better. And when I come back out of that time, I'm more clear, I'm more efficient, I'm better at everything in my life and my work. So on today's podcast, we're talking about the concept of slowing down in order to speed up. We often get tricked into thinking that the faster we run, the further we get, or that we can't possibly slow down if we truly want to make progress. This first episode in this series on recharging will challenge that traditional thinking and encourage us to slow down in order to speed up. But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. If you haven't done so already, we hope you'll visit Amazon or Amplify or jasonvbarger.com to check out Breathing Oxygen, my new book that is all about breathing good oxygen into ourselves and mindsets that fuel ourselves and the teams and the organizations around us. Positive, healthy thinking is as essential to great leadership and building a winning culture as the air we breathe. Leading yourself and a team of people has never been more complicated than it is today. As a leader, every move you make is either breathing life into your organization or slowly killing it. The atmosphere can easily turn toxic with negativity, blame, and doubt poisoning the culture. Just like every being on the planet needs good air to breathe, every organization needs leadership that breathes life into its people to sustain the energy required to complete its mission. Breathing Oxygen focuses on 6 key leadership mindsets that breathe life into any team: clarity, inclusivity, mental agility, grit, rest, and ownership. Join us, read, and share Breathing Oxygen.
Available now from Amplify Books on Amazon and jasonvbarger.com.
So again, thanks for everyone joining me on this quick micropod series on the ethic of recharging, resting, stepping back so that we can be at our best when our best is required. These episodes, again, are shorter by design because I'm hoping that there'll be quick doses of encouragement to all of us to practice this art of slowing down that will help us be better and more effective down the road in whatever endeavor is near and dear to your mind and your heart. You may remember that years ago when I was writing my second book, Remember, that's about renewing our memberships, relationships, and focus in a distracting world, I cited the study from the Harvard Business Review about the number of times in an average day that we as humans are distracted and we're switching from task to task. And I talk about the 300 to 500 times in an average day where people, are switching and are distracted from one thing to the next. And yet, that people were kind of buying into this busyness myth and that they were unfortunately equating busyness with effectiveness. And as we buy into this myth of always moving and doing something, that what the Harvard Business Review showed us is that it's leading to about a 30% productivity rate. And the main findings in the study was that the most effective people and teams and organizations actually created time very intentionally throughout their year to slow down very intentionally in order to speed up. Slow down in order to speed up. They took time to slow down, rest even, get intentional about their next actions, their focus, and then we're more effective coming out of these periods of slowing down. We're not at our most effective selves when we grind at all hours of every day. That's the myth of I get up each day and I'm just going to grind and work through all the challenges. Again, accomplishing anything of significance in the world, of course, takes hard work, and we're going to have to work hard at it, and we're going to have to put in the hours. But thinking that just grinding nonstop over and over again is what leads to elite performance is actually, that's not a design that is true and or can last. And so you may also know from my most recent book that Breathing Oxygen and I talk about, how positive leadership can kind of breathe life and energy into winning cultures, is that there's a whole chapter in that book that's focused on this idea of resting and the power and the connection that rest and recharging and stepping back has to elite performance. Because, again, the studies on elite performance show that this mentality of I'll, quote unquote, outwork the competition, and I'm going to hit the grindstone and never come up from air, and I can't possibly take time off. Actually, that kind of thinking, again, don't mishear me. Everything's going to take hard work, and we're going to have to put in the work and the time, and there's going to be moments of grinding. But at the same time, the studies don't show that this never coming up for air doesn't lead to elite performance. And again, I did a whole podcast on this and certainly a whole chapter in the book about this if you want to dive in more. But elite performance is not about never coming up for air, but it's about learning how to breathe more efficiently so we can navigate our way through challenges and be at our best when our best is needed. And so how we rest, how we recharge, how we revision what we're going to do next is as important to our elite performance as the hard work we, of course, have to put in. But with Americans, I've cited this before, Americans leaving around 768 million days of vacation unused and on the table each year, which equates to about $66 billion of lost benefits. We might have an opportunity here to better understand, because somehow we're buying into this myth that I can't stop and that somehow I'll be better at what I do if I don't stop, but yet the research is telling us the exact opposite. And if we're leaving 768 days unused of vacation, that means we're not taking the time to rest, to recharge, to help ourselves be at our best when our best is needed. And if we want to be elite, then we got to be willing to do that. So this practice and idea is going to carry our next few episodes, because I really want us to practice in 4 ways this act of slowing down and resting in order to be better prepared for what lies ahead. And so you're going to hear me dive into these 4 topics over the next few podcasts, where we're going to talk about rest being about seeking joy. I'm going to do a whole episode on what does it mean to seek joy and allow ourselves time and space. We'll focus on carving out time to let you seek and find joy, to get away from to-do lists and allow your mind and heart to seek and experience things that bring you joy. The hope is that you are finding joy in your life, of course, all throughout the year. But in this time, intentional time of stepping back and resting and recharging, seeking joy in very intentional and new ways allows for new growth to happen. We're also going to talk in another episode about rest being about another strategy is breaking tendencies. And I'm going to share, again, all of these things are things I try to do and I aim to accomplish when I have an intentional time away, not just a vacation, but intentional time to step back and study and to be away from work for a little bit, is I try to do all of these things of seek joy, but also break tendencies, challenge myself to break up routines on purpose, break your personal tendencies within the mindset of experience so that you can experience newness and more spontaneity, which then when you return to those routines or those tendencies, that you're more committed to the ones that really make sense for you and actually are better coming out of it. We're going to talk in another episode about rest and kind of growing like bamboo. Some of you know I love this imagery. I talk about it in Step Back from the Baggage Claim, my first book, this idea of growing like bamboo, and I'll explain what that means on that pod with that specific episode, but building in time and margin in your day and your week to let your creativity wander like bamboo. And again, I'll explain what that means on that episode. But allowing time to try new things, consider new ideas, learn a new way of doing something. All of those are ways in which we allow our minds and our hearts to rest in different ways, which then prepares us for what's to come. And then the last one we'll talk about is rest, and that the fact that preparation breeds confidence. Preparation breeds confidence. And so taking time in the midst of intentional time off or study leave or time away to take time to reflect, to dream what you want the future to be, not just following into the same patterns, but identifying ways that you would like to better live with the relationships, the people around you, different things that you want to work on or grow into it in your work. Prepare for the life and work you want to do, and in your preparation, you will come out of your time away with more confidence for the road ahead. So I hope this quick series excites you and challenges you in the midst of wherever you are in your year to slow down. I hope it awakens you in some ways, and I hope it gives you some rest and ability to recharge, again, with the purpose so that you can be at your best when your best is required. And all I can say is every year when I practice this, I experience coming out of this time better prepared and with new kind of excitement and energy for the stretch ahead so that I can be at my best when my best is needed. So a few questions for you to ponder for today. When and in what ways will you allow yourself to slow down in order to speed up? When and in what ways will you allow yourself to slow down in order to speed up? How will you recharge so you can be at your best for the road ahead? I hope today's episode got you thinking in some new ways, a deeper dive into any of the topics, or certainly I hope you'll listen to the next few that are coming that are going to build off of all of these ideas. But reach out to us, info@jasonvbarger.com, and let us know what you're thinking, and we'll continue to design content to help meet you where you are. Lastly, I hope you'll go back, listen to old episodes, past episodes that there's so many great topics that will add value to you, so many different topics that I'm sure you might be thinking about or wanting to dive into. So cheers to the path ahead for all of us, and remember that the future of leadership is you, is me, is us. We need to get clear on the temperature we hope to set, and then be courageous and committed to breathing oxygen into the mindsets and actions that will sustain our path forward. Step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.